Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Good afternoon. Still working on that project SSA 820 and 821. And right now, the portion I'm working on this last hour or so is the 821, specifically trying to determine the bonuses that were received at Christmas time, say like in December. It so happens that those bonuses put each of those months over SGA, which means it was definitely over TWP, right? So the question was, well, do bonuses have to count in that month? Or since it's an annual bonus, can it be spread out? You know, if she started that month, she would not have gotten the bonus. It was for putting in all that effort all year round. So it would seem, since earnings from work activity are counted when earned, meaning when, not when you're paid necessarily, but when you did the work, then it would seem that the argument could be logical that the bonus, assuming it's not a bonus from a particular act you did that month, right? Like a sale bonus or something like that for a salesperson, it should, in theory, potentially be prorated across the whole year. And if so, would that make no SGA months, including the one it was received in? Or you could have the risk where, gee, adding just a little bit to all the other months now suddenly jacks up every month over SGA. That would not be good. So that's what we're doing now. And I just wanted to point out to you, for any of you who are going through an 821 at the demand of the SSA, and this would be for folks who were working potentially for the first few months that are part of what they're alleging they were disabled as, that they were working under SGA, and therefore that can be, they were disabled before then, or those who are workers in a part-time nature after they're collecting, quite legitimately so. And if you're interested in doing that, pay attention to those videos, because a lot of people can do that. You can actually really enhance the quality of your financial life despite being disabled and on Social Security disability, if you are able to do so and if you do it right. Okay, so what I would suggest looking at if you have this bonus problem. So if you're looking at your pay stubs, remember you have to get all those pay stubs, and now it's showing that there's some bonus pay in there, and it's like, who can that help us? If you go to DI 10505.010, it's called Determining Countable Earnings, but then you got to scroll all the way down to I'm getting there, I promise. There's a lot of different things they go through. And of course, finding it is never easy. Okay, this is section D, the policy on bonus and incentive payments. So let me just read it for you because it's going to make things really clear. When evaluating bonus or incentive payments, generally consider that those payments represent the person's own productivity, unless the beneficiary provides evidence indicating that they are not. And therefore, bonus or incentive payments should be counted as earnings, which means, I mean, that's bad for SGA purposes, right? However, because most companies and state governments have certain requirements that have to be met in order for a person to receive the bonus. For example, you have to be employed a certain amount of time. Now, in this particular case, I do believe the person would have to be there a certain amount of time, because we saw the starting year where the person didn't get a bonus. And I'm presuming that's because they were only there for like 5 months. So now that you go year after year and all these years have bonuses, clearly it might be something relative to being there for a certain amount of time. So I will presume from this that yes, the bonuses are going to count, which is not something I ever thought they wouldn't. However, my question is, when are they going to count in which month? Because we have to go month by month and show which months, if any, were SGA and which months were not SGA. And obviously, I'm trying to prove that each and every month was not SGA. So, and this is over a multiple year period, guys. So it's monthly. You get into the weeds a little bit with this. You've got charts and you're taking notes and you're doing all this stuff trying to get the firm picture and make it right before, make sure it's correct before you send it to the SSA. Because once you send something to the SSA, it's like it's in quicksand. So if you made a mistake, it might take you years to correct it, if you can at all. All right. So bonuses that are paid based on the employer's profits, sales, lack of accident reports, etc., should be counted as earnings to the employee beneficiary, since the employee's own productivity would have had an impact on the owner's success. Okay, I get the theory behind the fact that bonuses are earnings. And note that the adjudicator is not required to verify whether the bonus is related to the person's own productivity. That if you're getting a bonus and it has nothing to do with productivity, and I don't know what that might be, but in theory, I guess there could be a reason why you get a bonus that has nothing to do with the company performance and the employee or yours contribution to that. You can do that if you're trying to keep it entirely out of earnings, but the onus is going to be on you to prove that. They're going to assume otherwise until you prove that. In our case, I believe there is no question. It was earnings. The question will be, when are we counting it as earnings? So moving on, they said if the adjudicator is not required to verify if the bonus is related to the person's own productivity, instead, he should determine if the bonus represents a specific period of time, and if it does, distribute the earnings over the period of time it was earned. Ding, ding, ding. This is good for me because now this $600, which would put that 1 month over SGA, is going to be spread out over all of the months. I do believe none of them will be SGA. However, I still have to do that math. So, because it'll be technically maybe adding $50 per month. And if the person was flirting too close to that SGA line, which I tell everybody not to do, stay a few $100s away, that would be a problem. But hopefully that won't be the case. And they go on to say that if the amount does not represent a specific period of work activity or a specific time period is not determinable, distribute the payments monthly over the time period the person had worked for the employer, but not to exceed 1 year. So we don't really have to worry about that because this is clearly an annual bonus. Comes out at holiday time, right? So that is going to be our next move, is to divvy that up, do the math, put it in a display on a piece of paper where it's kind of evident, when you explain it, kind of like in chart form. Although I think I'm doing it kind of in a word style, but in it with a chart in it. Oh, they do give an example, by the way, of what kind of bonuses might not be countable earnings. It says, note, if the beneficiary provides evidence that the payments are not related to their employment, for example, a dividend or shareholder payment, determine that those payments do not represent the person's own productivity. So that's 2 of the examples they give as to when it might not. There's hopefully more, but we'll see. But the biggest point right here for us is that they are clearly saying right here that it will be divvied up over the whole time period. So that $600 bonus at Christmas time will be prorated. Instead of $600 in December, it will be $50 or whatever and change over the course of the year. And I will be finding out soon, once I get through that, if there's any SGA months. If there are SGA months, we will go to the next step to see if there's any deductions that can be made under the law to reduce it further to get them under SGA. Okay, so that's where we're at now. The bonuses and how they are generally going to be earnings, and you have to take them into consideration. Note that that would be different from sick pay and vacation pay. And I'll just mention this quickly. This is section C in the same write-up. So it's very important you look at your pay stubs and see if you are above SGA in any month, you're going to want to see if any of that was sick pay that you could reduce down. The more months you can get to be non-SGA, if that's a problem, the better for you, for a multitude of reasons. All right. It says under sick and vacation pay, when evaluating earnings for substantial gainful activity purposes, consider only earnings derived from actual work activity for the month under consideration. If an individual receives sick or vacation pay for non-work days in a particular month, that pay should not be considered countable income for that month. Bing, bing. Rather, the question, I can't even see, is what work activity did the individual actually perform in a given month? And what earnings did the individual actually receive for that work activity? Makes total sense. Only the earnings paid as a result of work activity should be used in determining if the individual has engaged in SGA in a particular month. They go on to say that if an individual works 1 week in a month, but is paid sick pay for the rest of the month due to time off from work, only the earnings that are derived from the actual work activity should be considered when determining if the individual has engaged in substantial gainful activity in that month. If the earnings for that 1 week of actual work activity represent SGA, then a determination should be made that the individual has engaged in substantial gainful activity for that month, unless it is determined that the work activity constitutes an unsuccessful work attempt. Whole nother video for another day, guys, the unsuccessful work attempt. I love them. On the other hand, if the earnings from the 1 week of work are not SGA, then a determination can be made that the individual did not engage in SGA for that given month. If an individual takes sick or vacation pay in lieu of time off, only the earnings that can be directly attributed to their work activity in that month should be used in determining if the individual has engaged in substantial gainful activity, SGA, in that month. They also go on to say that POMS has not previously addressed how to evaluate sick vacation pay for SGA purposes in the past. Therefore, do not initiate reopenings that would be unfavorable to the claimant or beneficiary simply because a different policy was applied in the previous case. That's a protective clause. I know everyone's always thinking the SSA is out to get everybody and get them off Social Security. It's not true. Do they get tough on applying the laws, and sometimes they really get invasive to make sure that someone is legitimately collecting? Absolutely. And do we have some rogue staffers that sometimes are abusive? We do. But the SSA itself, that's not its goal. I mean, its constituents, if you will, are those of us that pay in, and also those of us that then receive based on disability, survivors, retirement, or what have you. That is my opinion. Okay, we can all differ. All right, so there we go. Bonuses in this 821 part of our project here. You can figure out again what months they apply to, and then thin them out over those months, and it might bring, if you are over SGA in the month you received, that might help you get it down. I think it's going to help us. I can't wait to get through it. I'll report back. Bye, guys.